For the past 18 years, staff and those wanting family planning services have had to use the centre's cramped premises in Derby Street. But just around the corner, the region's new headquarters was officially opened today by avid supporter of the organisation, Hazel Hawke. Operating in the Hunter for 4 decades, family planning has helped thousands of people through its clinical and educational services.
It's very necessary and desirable, and I think I know it's a way of avoiding a great deal of sadness and fear and misunderstanding and indeed tragedy.
We work mainly in the area of sexuality and provide sexual health care to our clients, and we have educators that provide community education services from the Central Coast as far up as Taree and occasionally further than that.
Providing more facilities with greater privacy for clients, the Queen Street Centre will be open 6 days a week.
I would encourage men and women to use this centre for anything that troubles them or about which they want to know more.
Melinda Smith, NBN News. Nine-year-old David Peary has cerebral palsy, a disease affecting messages sent by the brain to muscles. He also has a new friend, 9-year-old Adam Ward. Both boys are in 4th class at Charlestown East Public, and sometimes they share the same lessons. But because David has special needs, he also attends classes with 6 other students at the primary school's new Stewart unit. The classrooms feature special equipment and educational tools. Daily therapy is also catered for. And according to the principal, the scheme has benefits for the whole school.
It's great for the children who've been going to Charlestown East because now they're experiencing life. Life with children with disabilities is part of the real world, and this is an important education for our children too.
For parents like Linda Pepperell, it's a chance for daughter Alicia to feel like any other 7-year-old.
The kids don't think she's any different. She's got lots and lots of friends and they all play in the playground with you, don't they?
Yes.
And you tell me, Alicia, what do you think of your new school?
Well, it's good and I have lots of friends.
Billed as the opening act for tonight's big concert, Singleton High was warming up today. An annual event for the past 3 decades, this year's music festival showcases talent from 14 schools.
We've got jazz groups, we've got concert bands, we've got rock groups, we've got one choir, we've got some vocal ensembles, plus some soloists.
The concert at City Hall gets underway at 7 o'clock.
I think it's the best we've had for a lot of years. It's really, really good. And it's also a display of what the kids are doing in the schools, and this is the cream.
that given the contempt that the union has consistently shown for decisions of the Coal Industry Tribunal, that we should bring the coal industry into the mainstream of industrial relations and bring it under the auspices of the Australian Industrial Relations Commission. And I'll be taking
The tractor was put to the test this afternoon on overgrown land at Wangi Point, and those watching were impressed. There are only 24 of the English machines in Australia. Most are being used for farming, but with a few alterations, the Lake Macquarie Volunteer Bushfire Brigade believes it could be used to help fight fires.
We're looking for some machinery that'll help us with our firefighting, to put in fire breaks fairly quickly and safely to assist our firefighters, but also which reduces the environmental damage, and this machine looks like it'll go a long way towards that.
Instead of cutting down to the soil as a bulldozer would, the TrackFast machine mulches and compacts the matter.
And that avoids runoff when it rains and scouring, and it's much better.
The Lake Volunteer Brigade has applied to Council for funding in the 1994-95 budget. If successful, it will be the first unit to have such a machine.
The game was carried over from the weekend due to bad weather, and the conditions were stormy for Curry in the opening 10, with the Goannas sneaking in for an early lead. The game was marred by messy play, but 20 minutes in, Curry's Daniel Linane made the move of the night, scooping up a kick and scoring in the corner. 6-4 at half-time. Cessnock made countless breaks but lost the ball at vital occasions. They paid for their mistakes. Curry then put on the power for a 4-pointer and then teamwork for another. The final score, Curry 16, Cessnock 6. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Hey, there's that little piggy counter. Where'd you go again? Oh, geez, there, now you're over there. There's only 5 seconds left. You better get over here, and oh, I hope you're recording.
A stroll through their backyard garden was welcome relief for 88-year-old Ralph and his 81-year-old wife Edna after 2 weeks of uncertainty. The Kurrambong couple was trapped 60 kilometres from Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, after tension between 2 rival tribes erupted into civil war.
We first thought it was like a flash in the pan.
But the couple quickly realised it wasn't a passing dispute. A mob wielding guns and machetes burst into the orphanage where they were staying, demanding 2 men from the rival tribe.
Eventually they got these 2 men and took them outside, and they killed one and badly injured the other one.
The elderly couple had no communication with the outside world except a 2-way radio. Their attention quickly turned to how to flee from the trouble spot. They were eventually given an armed escort to Kigali airport and a flight to neighbouring Kenya, but they were forced to leave behind nearly 200 orphans. Despite the experience, the recently married octogenarians say they'll travel overseas again, possibly as soon as next year. What do your 16 sons and daughters between you think of all this travel?
Well, I don't know. I suppose they think we're crazy.
Richard O'Leary, NBN News. The high flyers of motorsport reach for the sky at Newcastle's Motordrome today as a preview to Saturday night's action. It's the city's second off-road Grand Prix and includes bikes, quads, sedans and the flying pickups. Come race night, there'll be 12 of these muscle machines on the track to entertain the crowd.
It produces very tight racing, and the drivers and the cars are off the air most of the time, and the action's pretty good.
It was a David and Goliath showdown today as Rob Pagan's Mazda took on the might of David Mendham's purpose-built Nissan pickup. The Wheeled Warriors followed the Bible story to a T, with the mighty Mazda defeating its much bigger foe. It might look easy enough, but don't tell the drivers, or you too may have to experience the stomach-churning antics of these machines. Sitting next to the driver may be the best seat in the house, but I'll be happy to pay the $20 to sit trackside on Saturday night. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
The historic town of Morpeth in the Hunter Valley is normally a quiet, low-key kind of place. There's a relaxed pace here, but at the Royal Hotel there is one guaranteed way to create a commotion. Ellie is a Frank Sinatra freak. She started singing along about 4 years ago.
Well, someone put New York, New York on and away she went. She hasn't stopped since.
The locals have become quite accustomed to New York, New York. It's Ellie's favourite. She does occasionally sing to Bob Dylan, but this crooning canine prefers to harmonise with Cranky Frankie. There's been much excitement here at the pub for the last 2 nights with Ellie glued to the TV set. She has, of course, been watching the NBN miniseries on her idol, Frank Sinatra. But it's purely a party trick. Ellie isn't interested in touring or getting her name in lights. This performing pooch is staying put at the pub.
You reckon the big smoke might not be good for her?
No, well, you know, running around with boys and smoking cigarettes and what have you, no. Not really.
It's passes like this that are giving Matthew Johns big raps in the rugby league world. And he doesn't have a bad step either. But the youngster who has played less than 20 first-grade games isn't taking too much notice of all the talk.
I don't really pay that much attention to it. I'm just, you know, the guys were pretty happy with their form last week, and we're looking to string a few together, and we've got a couple of big ones coming up, and so I just think about that sort of thing.
Both Coach Waite and prop forward Paul Harrigan believe the selectors have been keeping an eye on the night's playmaker.
Of course, if Laurie Daly doesn't come through 100% fit, I'm quite sure he'd have to be second choice, which is a fair rap.
With his brother Andrew in at halfback, Matty has at times run amok, throwing out any of those criticisms of the Knights playing a purely defensive game.
We've obviously got a game plan, but, you know, I like to try a few things, and lucky the last couple of weeks have been coming off, and hope people are as kind of when they don't.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Newcastle trained at Harker Oval last night in preparation for the final. Illawarra will start favourite with the home ground advantage at Steelers Stadium. Newcastle, which won the Cup in '92, will have experience on its side though, as Illawarra has not taken part in the championship for 10 years. A crowd of 10,000 is expected for the clash, and a record 20 players in the final have had Winfield Cup experience. The winning club will collect $20,000, while a meagre $6,000 will go to the loser. More important than the money, though, is the opportunity for the players to impress country selectors. A country squad will be chosen after Sunday's game to play the Sydney Metropolitan team on May the 6th. Jason Jornhoff, NBN News.
This may seem like just another game of first-class rugby league, but take a look at the touch judge. Sandra Ryan is the only woman to run the line in the top grade in Newcastle. Since getting an interest in refereeing with the Knights camp 3 years ago, Sandra has won a treasure chest of trophies. She's making some tough decisions from the line, but does the 39-year-old want to be the first woman to ref a first-grade game?
My age is against me for that, and my speed and that. Knowing the rules is fine, but you've got to have your mobility about you. And
You're not quick enough?
Not for first grade, no.
Rugby league is in her blood. Her son Warren is a ref and fiancé Paul Lovett is director of referees. Sandra says any woman can do what she does. One of her biggest problems is finding a changing shed.
I usually have a fair bit of gear on before I get to the ground so that I don't have to sort of strip down to the naked where the guys do. So it doesn't leave me too embarrassed. And I don't embarrass the men either. They get embarrassed too.
It's well known the Knights are nearly $2 million in debt after putting out vast sums to upgrade the ISC, now Marathon Stadium. Today, a group of businesses headed by builder Jeff McCloy launched an art union to sell 500,000 $2 tickets, giving the club a chance to get back into the black.
All the hard work's been done with the preparation, and we now need the community support.
Most art unions are run to raise money for charities. Under government regulations, this art union is classified as a fundraiser for a community facility. The unexpected $1 million windfall could be a knight in shining armour to rescue the club, still struggling without the backing of a major sponsor.
There was a large crowd at Carl Oval in Belmont for the public holiday game, but there was no rest for the Lakes defence as Cessnock raced to the lead. Lakes started to spread the ball wide, but Cessnock's defence stayed firm. It looked like the brick wall defence had been broken with a try in the corner, but it was disallowed. A shocking attempt at goal didn't help the home side's cause, but it wasn't long before the Lakes posted its first 4 points. Boosted by the home ground advantage, Lakes started to dominate in attack, leaving Cessnock scrambling in defence. But eventually Cessnock had to crack and the Lakes took control of the game. The visitors still had a chance when a break from the scrum base got it 4 points closer, but Lakes United did enough to get the 2 points, winning by 18 points to 12. Workforce 94 is a joint effort by the state government, the Newcastle Chamber of Manufacturers and the Hunter Mission. It targets industry needs, so training goes exactly where it's needed. The first 60 recruits are drawn from Newcastle's long-term unemployed, with many having university qualifications or other training. But this hasn't helped them get a job.
To get a job you need experience, to get experience you need a job, so it's a vicious cycle.
Workforce 94 aims to break that cycle by giving the trainees the skills the business world wants. Over the next 8 months, they'll be taught computer and interview skills, as well as tips on how to land a job. A register has also been established to match recruits with a suitable job.
If we can find a match, it would be good, because that means that one more skilled unemployed person will get a job.
Despite the scheme only officially starting today, 10 trainees have already found employment. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
From the kick-off, Western Suburbs was putting the pressure on the Marlins line. A deft chip from Ashley Gordon almost paid off. The Rosellas threw themselves into their defence and eventually the cracks began to appear. Story's four-pointer started the ball rolling. Just minutes later, the Western Suburbs backline followed the textbook and reaped the rewards. For players backing up from weekend rep duties, it must have been a hard night. The Marlins didn't throw in the towel. A clever tap move gave the Rosellas defence a fright, but North Nelson Bay couldn't finish it off. The final score, Western Suburbs 22, North Nelson Bay 2. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Kempsey Mayor Max Armour is quick to emphasise that yesterday's disturbance does not represent a serious rift in the council. It occurred when councillors O'Donnell, Tozer and Parkinson voted for the immediate acceptance of a 6.5% rate increase, even though that's far more than is likely to be allowed by the local government minister. With 2 councillors absent and 3 voting to give consideration to each individual item in the 122-page draft estimate, the Mayor's casting vote went against immediate acceptance. At that, councillors O'Donnell, Tozer and Parkinson left the meeting. One item they wished to be returned to the budget, $25,000 to be spent on employing a Macleay industrial officer. However, Mayor Max Armour says another special meeting will be held tomorrow, at which it's hoped all 9 elected councillors will be present. Councillor Armour said draft estimates are really a wish list and usually provide for a lot of fat which can be trimmed. He said it's quite inappropriate to just accept or even reject such a document without seriously considering each individual item.
The 32-kilometre ribbon of sand backed by rolling dunes stretches from Stockton to Anna Bay. Newcastle Bight bears the onslaught of the ocean from one side and the increasing demands of people and development on the other. Dunes and middens are culturally significant to Aborigines, natural resources are extracted for industry and the beach comes under heavy recreational use. Land reclamation and stabilisation projects are ongoing but often prove futile against the elements. The Departments of Land Management, Planning, Mineral Resources and Defence, along with the Water Corporation, Port Stephens and Newcastle Councils, have all pledged money for a management plan to be commissioned by the Newcastle Bight Sand Drift Committee. A consultant should be named mid-June and a draft plan available by the end of the year.
The proposal to turn 280 hectares of land near Thornton into an industrial estate has been controversial since it was suggested nearly a year ago. The debate at a pre-council meeting last night turned ugly as the developer Hilton Cruchon put forward a change proposal that would cut the industrial estate by half and have a nature reserve included. Councillor Terry Marr claimed the mayor was trying to influence the meeting, which was inappropriate considering his long friendship with the developer. The pair clashed heatedly before Councillor Marr walked out of the meeting, followed by 5 other councillors.
My concern at that meeting was that the mayor not only was chairing the meeting but was becoming actively involved in it.
Oh no, that's totally wrong. The meeting was dealt in a very professional manner.
A full meeting of council later in the night decided to gag the mayor on the issue and ordered the general manager to investigate Councillor G's involvement with the project.
Well, I think that move by the councillors concerned was rather appalling, to say the least.
There's nothing wrong at all with having a close friendship with a developer. That can happen from time to time. But being the mayor, he must act appropriately, and he hasn't done so today.
The mayor maintains his support for the development, but says he'll remain silent for the sake of unity in the council. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Duke has been in intense training for the junior welterweight fight, which will be over 10 3-minute rounds. He's keen to perform well to have a chance to try for the Australian title. In his last encounter at the Twin Towns RSL Club at Tweed Heads late last year, Duke lost on points in a close decision to Olympian Justin Rousel from Casino. His opponent next Monday, Hiles, has represented Australia as an amateur and is considered to be a classy boxer. But local boy Duke is expected to give fight fans plenty of entertainment in what will be a build-up bout to the Kostya Tszyu Angel Hernandez main event.
Melissa Hunt left her Whitebridge house on Saturday 16th. 9 days later, her body was found floating in this dam at Stockrington. Police are trying to piece together her movements in the time she was missing. Information supplied by the public has now put Mrs Hunt in Waratah.
Our investigations now take us to early hours of Monday morning, the 18th I think it was, 17th, 18th. And she was seen in the Lambton, at Waratah, Lambton Road area, and we've no idea where she's gone from there.
Police will canvass houses in the area tomorrow, as well as talk to people in the Whitebridge, Charlestown area.
She's wearing the pink tracksuit pants, light pink tracksuit pants, and the blue and white horizontal stripe t-shirt on the top.
Mrs Hunt had only been married for 6 weeks. Relatives and friends are being interviewed in the hope someone may have that vital piece of information. Divers have almost finished searching the dam, but police won't reveal what they have found. They believe Mrs Hunt's body was in the dam for 2 days. She died from a fractured skull after being bashed around the head. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
The Right Reverend James Allen George Housden served as the Bishop of Newcastle from 1958 to 1972. The Bishop assisting the Diocese of Newcastle, Leslie Stibbard, who worked closely with Bishop Housden, described him as a humble man, able to put men and women of all sorts at ease and to win their trust and respect.
He was indeed a true, gentle man.
James Housden had been the Bishop of Rockhampton before coming to Newcastle as the diocese's 8th Bishop. He also worked among the Aboriginal missions and parishes of the Northern Territory.
Council has agreed to contribute just over $1,200 to the 3-month trial. It's a third of the cost of hiring a security firm to patrol the Charlestown Mall area. The rest will be shared between Telecom and Charlestown Square Management. The idea was first mooted by the local Chamber of Commerce in August last year. While businesses have welcomed the decision, Chamber President Steve Owen says it should have happened months ago.
Over that period of 8 months, I would say there'd be about $30,000 to $40,000 worth of damage in the whole area. Now that's Telecom and the Square and also the council property right through.
The security firm will patrol the area Friday and Saturday nights when damage to lights, telephone boxes, garbages and planters is believed to occur. Council has made no commitment to continuing the service beyond the trial period. What they have recommended, though, is that the state government be approached to increase police patrols in the area and that more community activities be held to encourage more people to visit the mall. Jodie McKay, NBN News.